Okay. All right, guys. Welcome back for a new build. This is the first one of Tamriel 1 that I'm putting out, and it's a pretty brutal one. It's kind of a meta build. It's very meta, actually. This is a good build to transition if you were riding the meta from last patch into this patch. Like I had tried Black Rose. I didn't make a build with it last patch because it was pretty brutal. Tried to make those non-meta-esque builds. But you know what? This one's going to be a meta build. So I tried this on PTS, the Black Rose. When I was on PTS, I was dueling a lot. I tried Black Rose with Tremor. And I loved Tremor. It makes one-handed and shield amazing. It's probably a bit over the top, that set. It procs every 4 seconds. Let me show you it. It's a pretty nasty set. Gives you max stam, and then it procs every 4 seconds. Now, the thing that's amazing about it proccing every 4 seconds is it's very controlled damage. So you really get to proc it kind of when you want off ransack. It does good damage. It slows for 8 seconds if you don't happen to kill the guy with it. It uses a very good skill with a great animation, ransack. It's just amazing, you know. And it does major fracture, which you don't naturally get on a Stam Sorc. The same way like a Nightblade or a DK could. So, this works great on a Stam Sorc for many reasons, which we'll go into. This build is pretty disgusting. It is not really balanced either. I'm not going to lie. I don't think this build is balanced whatsoever. I didn't like Viper last patch, but we're using Viper in this build. I was able to farm Viper. I didn't want to invest in it last patch because I wasn't really trying to go out of my way to pay a lot of money to get Viper. You can farm it very easy this patch, very quickly. And I farmed it, since I'm using 5 Black Rose body, you can farm the jewelry and then the weapon and shield pretty easily. So that's what I did. That's my main bar weapon. And then I have a 2-hander on the back bar. So why don't I just start out? I'll go through the equipment. I have a 2-piece tremor, both in pen, medium and a heavy. Okay, everything's enchanted for max stam, same as always. Black Rose, all in pen, all enchanted for stam. This stuff's golded from last patch. I didn't gold this stuff out though. I probably will. It's a really top-notch set. And if it stays the way it is, it makes Sword and Board very strong in a way it wouldn't otherwise be as good. If you want to use it offensively, that is. So down here we have 3 Viper, all weapon damage and chance, and then we have a Sword and Board Viper, impen shield. I have a dagger here. And then I have a Maelstrom Battle Axe on the back bar. Doesn't really matter. It can be anything. Reason I use a Battle Axe for bleed, by the way. You're not doing a lot of your damage on the 2-handed bar. It's kind of a buff bar, but it's kind of something you rotate in where you're against a target like, hey, I need to put on a little more damage. I'll show you the rotation, what I mean about that. And then I have poisons on both bars, same one. Drain health from your target, deal poison damage. This is strong. I'll show you how to make this. Why don't I jump right into CP? I forget it a lot of times, so we'll jump right into that. I have 11 in Blessed, it would seem. These CP could be subject to change, but they're pretty good as is. I have 83 in Mighty, 32 in Piercing, and then 61 in Precise Strikes. 55 in Crit Resist, 35 Thick-Skinned, 50 Hardy, 47 Elemental Defender, 100 in Warlord, 17 in Bashing Focus. You're going to be bashing a bit. Nothing over in Regen. You don't really need it on a Stam Sorc, especially with Black Rose. And then we have 70 in Tumbling, 4 Break Free, and the occasional roll, which you really want to limit on this build. Let's run through the skills. First one is Ransack. I actually have Pierce Armor. I meant to change this, but I didn't yet. So this should be Ransack, which is because the other, like this morph, this is for when I was using my tank build, and I haven't changed it back yet. In my tank build, I was doing debuffs for both. Pierce good if you're running like a tanked build, but that's not what this is. Ransack is going to also just give you the extra minor resolve. It gives you a little armor. It can't hurt to have. The only other way you get minor resolve on this class really is through through your armor, which we're not running. Doesn't this give minor? Yeah, okay, it does. So we're not running that, so yeah, we could use the minor armor. So make note of that if you want to be better. Make sure this is Ransack. Skill 2, I have Streak. Skill 3, I have Reverb Bash. Skill 4, Vigor. Skill 5, Crit Surge. And then I have Dawnbreaker over here. Bar 2 with the two-hander, I have Crit Rush. I have Shuffle. I have Hurricane. I have Rally. I have Dark Deal. And then pots I generally use on this build is, since it's not like a medium armor where I have high mobility. By the way, for your food, you want to use Tri-Food. I don't know. There's a lot of Stam Sorcs using the 2, but you get so much more dark dealing out of using Tri-Food. You always, like the way Stam Sorc works is you're out there, you're busting ass, you're running your combos, and your mana bar always fills up. Watch any Stam Sorc play, and you'll see their mana bar fills up. So to really go and get that extra bit of stamina, like I do realize you're getting another 830 stamina, it looks like. I don't consider that as good as having like an extra 2 dark deals, or if you streaked out of the fight, you're going to get an extra dark deal. After you streak, you line of sight, you start dark dealing. Yeah, that's Tri-Food. What did I come in here for again? All right. I use this one, Immovability, Restore Health, and Restore Stam. It's a good burst heal saver. Plus the immunity for 15 seconds allows you to just run up on people hard. Vitality pots are an option too. I know they're big in duels right now. They're good with this build, and I'll tell you why. This build, much like last patch with Black Rose, like here's where Black Rose is kind of a disgusting set. It gives you a lot of sustain, right? Like you have good damage here, great armor, awesome. But you get so much sustain. So when you do these heavy armor builds, that is why you really like to run something like Crit Surge. Like, you just stay in the fight as a heavy build, and you just sustain through, like, everything. You can sustain through so much. I was alive at the bridge yesterday for, like, over 5 minutes with 25 guys chasing me while I just ran around, couldn't run out of resources very well. And I was killing people while I was running through these 25 guys, just healing. I get knocked down. It's like, cool, I got, like, 4 heals running, man. You know? It's so like that's why you want, like with a medium armor burst build, sometimes you can get away with not having Crit Surge, but this is where Crit Surge is good. So the Vitality is an option to stack with all this stuff going on. A lot of times I prefer movability. I go into the fight, I open up, I pop this, I have 15 seconds, I'm not getting disabled. I can like do my thing for a bit, not get hit with some random disable like a snipe from stealth that would suddenly lock me up, and then some guy beams me and another guy hits me with like a incap and I die. Like that's something that can happen. But if you take care of yourself with a movability, you can prevent that. If you're already in the middle of a fight and like you're deep into it, sometimes it's better to just run the Vitality because of all the healing you have, and it'll take care of you through the course of a long fight. Oh yeah, Mundus Stone Thief, by the way, since you're in heavy. Forgot to mention that one. Weapon crits 40%. It's pretty damn nice. Thank you, Viper. Anyway, a lot of healing in this with heavy armor. When I do medium armor builds, like that's when I try to backbar Crit Surge, and I get more burst utility. And by backbar, I mean throw it on Overload. This is my Overload, by the way. I forgot to mention. Overload, I keep with this build with Caltrops and rearming really on the back bar. I don't know why Shuffle's back here. I think my thing got reset on the patch. But yeah, if you go to overload, you run up to a choke, you can caltrops, do that, come back over here, rebuff Hurricane, rally, shuffle, crit surge, and you're ready to punch some people down. That costs you some stam to do that, but once you have these down and someone actually hits your trap and they're in caltrops, it's good stuff. So basically the way this build runs, I think I gave you all the info now on what I'm using. I mean, ultimately, when you're on Sword and Board Bar, and this is the bread and butter, you have Viper, which is going to proc, and it procs every 4 seconds. You have Tremor Scale, which can proc every 4 seconds. So these sets can be lined up together, basically. If you go over to your two-hander, your Viper won't proc, your Tremor won't proc, but this is good. It allows you to control these. Like last patch when I'm using Veladrith, if I had Caltrops down, it would randomly just proc when it came off cooldown, which was annoying. But with this, everything's controlled. So I can go up to this guy, I can light attack, ransack him, and Viper will proc, and Tremor will proc. Unless Tremor doesn't proc, but he got imploded. So get crushed. Let's find another one. You can see them proc together. I mean, Tremor's a 50% chance to proc, so it's not every swing. But it's a very quick weave, right? So there you go. Like, I ran 2 ransack combos there. And what you're going to do with this build is you're going to have to weave. Like, you have to learn to weave. That's just, it's part of running it. So, like, you go up and hit it, and you have Viper Sting procs here, Light Attack, Pierce Armor, Hurricane ticked, and then I bashed. The real things I did was I light attacked, I ransacked, then I bashed. That combo you want to master with this build. And it's, it's going to be a whole new thing. Like, you can just... People complained about, like, animation canceling stuff. Like, with Sword and Board, it's really strong because the animation's so quick. It's like SA on Nightblade. It's just instant, and you can immediately cut it off and recycle the combo. So it's always been a very strong thing. I've always enjoyed Sword and Board. I just didn't like the options I had of running it. Tremor is an obviously strong option to pair up with Viper. So this is really being a meta build. It's taking advantage of the defensive side of the meta, Black Rose, and the offensive side of Tremor and Viper being paired up. We're also using poisons. Again, I'll show you how to make these towards the end. But I want to show you basically... I showed you like the general combo I do there. That's your general attack, is the light attack, ransack, bash. Now, different ways you run this combo, which I want to explain real quick. Because that's usually a question I get on a lot of builds. Like, what's your rotation? It's a good question. So that's the general rotation, the light attack, ransack, weave. But when I go into a fight, generally, you can open up with like a medium/heavy attack like this, of a two-hander, and then I immediately crit rush. Now, I put heavy weapons bleed on him. That bleed just killed him. But this is on a target that's a little beefier. When you have a light target, you can straight up kill him on the Sword and Board bar. No contest. But if you have a heavier target, this is how you open. This is the point of the axe, the two-handed. And sometimes you just crit rush from a distance. But if you can control it, if you can happen to creep up on your target like this, then you do that, and then you're going to come over here and run your combo. Now, the reason I don't use the shield charge and I use crit rush not only does more damage and it's a guaranteed crit, but on top of that, you can control your CC, which is what you want to do. I'll show you what I mean. I'll crit rush, and I'm going to switch over, I'm going to reverb. Again, this is for targets that have like 25k health or more, where I'm like, hey, I can't instantly kill this guy. He's a healer. He has over 25k health. I want to drop the D on him. So you can come in, come over, and you immediately reverb. And after your reverb, then you do your light attack ransack combo. Because you came in with the crit rush, but you didn't actually CC him until you reverb, where you're already on your Sword and Board bar. Which means right after you hit him with the reverb, you're going to do a Viper proc and a Tremor proc, and it's all going to be unblocked if that reverb connected, if he didn't block it. Not to mention, you have a potential poison from the two-hander bar, a potential bleed from the two-hander bar, all ticking, as well as the opening crit rush. But there's not only that. If you really want to kill the guy, you can also come over here and just do it with Dawnbreaker and then run that. Okay, instead of reverb, and you're like, you know what, this guy needs to go right away, right at the start of the fight. Or you come in and there's 3 people there, you just come in and you can either, you know, open with reverb or Dawnbreaker. It really doesn't matter. I mean, Dawnbreaker's the one where you really want to kill somebody, pretty much. You're obviously going to use Dawnbreaker when it comes up. Not all the time, though. Like, there's a lot of targets I just like, hey, I don't need to use Dawnbreaker. I'm going to save it when there's 2 or more, or there's a healer I want to get rid of immediately. And that's where you run that combo. So they're the general combos you run. I will show you it in PvP. I used it a bit. We'll bring up some example clips that we can look at together. And I will explain a bit of what's going on here. Why don't I start out with this one? So this is on my YouTube if you want to see this a little more detail, these clips. But I'm just going to go through to show you generally what's happening here. All right, let me bring it up full screen. So this is a real quick clip. I'll play it through maybe a couple times to show you what's happening here.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's going to be your general reaction when you start doing this to people. Let me slow it down for you so you can actually see what's happening here, because this is the build, and this is what you can expect. Again, I sent this to ZeniMax guys because I think it's pretty crazy. So you come in here. I'm doing a heavy attack here. Right off the start here, you see Viper Sting, heavy attack, drain health, drain health. So my poison on my one-handed shield procced. I didn't even use my two-hander for this. That's just a heavy attack, a Viper Sting, that stuff procced. What comes next? Pierce Armor, Bash. And then Tremor Scale came in at the end and killed him. But you see all the numbers there. Like, this guy's death recap, he must be like, this is fucked up. I mean, I can't blame him. I really can't. It is fucked up, man. But that's the build for you, because that's kind of the meta. Like, it's kind of the way the game is pushing in a lot of ways, with so many sets that proc like that. I'll show you another example of the same thing. Here's another clip, pretty much the same thing happening. And I mean, look at the guy's health too, right? Like, he's at 21.2k health, right? Here I come. Not even a heavy attack. Hurricane ticked, Pierce Armor, drain health, light attack, bash, Tremor Scale, dead. 21.2k health, and he's gone. You know, he's like, boy, this is a fun game. No. If you use this build, you're going to make all your enemies have a really bad time. But honestly, I think we're going to get changes to these kind of builds, and I think we need it. You see this grin? Look at this grin. That's going to be your face when you run this build. Okay? Like, I couldn't believe my eyes, like, you know, the damage sometimes. Like, what the fuck was that? It's a good question. Let's show some other fights too. Let's do Dune Rippin'. Has a bit more weapon damage to it. It's only about 50. I don't think that's worth trading the sustain, especially. So, like, gold. I'll try to cover me. It's kind of weird. So if I have a gold, you know what? Let me just mute that. It's very, very tough for me to talk over it. So here we are coming in. Two-hander comes out because I got multiple dudes. I want to, like, do as little to I want to kill the first one as easy as possible. You want to start with your two-handed combo. Come in. Here's the heavy attack. Crit rush right after. He's already at about half. I just Tremor Scaled him. He's dead. You come in for the next dude. Tremor scaled. It's already up again. We killed him. There's my Dawnbreaker because I saw a light armor guy. Tremor scaled. He's dead. And you see why I found Tremor scale to be a little brutal on the PTS. It's strong. It's very strong. And it's very controlled because you're seeing it. It's comboing with Viper. And these dudes are just getting... They're getting shredded. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Here's another one. Here's when I was fighting with Cody. Cody's using very similar setup. I'm not really sure. I saw it for like 5 minutes last night. His skills are a little different, but very similar setup. You're going to see this setup all over the place after this. I'm just like, it's already... Because it's a natural progression from the last patch of the meta. But it's adding a layer on with Tremor as well. But this is how dangerously effective it is. You can see I really have the sustain to do whatever I want against these guys right now. I'm running, I go to overload bar, there's a trap, there's the caltrops is the reason for the overload bar. Now here's the thing, let me pause this for a second. Dawnbreaker does AoE and Tremor Scale is also AoE. If you lay down the caltrops with your Hurricane going and trap up for extra damage, trap's kind of irrelevant, but it's really the Hurricane, the caltrops, they're both running, then you Dawnbreak, and you Tremor Scale. That's a lot of potential AoE, and that's why I tried to cut this clip to show you the point of why I still want to keep the back bar. Like, I wanted to try two-handed ult on the back, but with this build, I don't think I need it. I'm going to do another build that's much burstier from just physical damage perspective, and that'll be really good with the two-handed ult, because the two-handed ult will benefit from the damage. This is just these passive sets. That's what this is. But here we go. So why don't I slow it down again? Because I think we learn more when we see it that way. So I placed the caltrops. This dude, that whole party chased me in here. This guy walks into my trap. I'm doing the heavy attack two-hander. Wind up on him right now. There it is, followed by a crit rush. Immediately bar swapping. Coming over here. Dawn breaking. Took one out, took two out. Now I still have the Viper Ransack combo Tremor. Here it comes. I think I just hit that guy with it because his health just fucking dropped. He just rally healed. Now he's going over. He wants the Vigor. They just got Tremor. That hit both of them. I turned to the left and I just banged that guy out because he's not healing. This dude's trying to Vigor, but Viper Sting, Pierce Armor. Good night. So, I mean, that's in general how it goes. That's kind of the combo. I can show you real quick how to make those poisons as well, because that's usually a popular question. I showed you what food to use. I showed you the pots I use as well. If anyone has questions in the chat or feel I may have missed something obvious when going... You know what? I didn't go over my stats. That's one thing I probably didn't show you. So here's this with crit surge, rally, and all that up. 40% crit. We have good physical resist. It's pretty good. We also have very high crit resist. We're using 8 impen, baby. This is like crit resist cap. Very, very, very important to do this, okay? So make sure you do that. And then 38k stam. Weapon damage is only 2600, but you're relying so much off procs. And I want to try a variation of this with basically swapping out the Black Rose for Widow. I looked basically, there's other proc sets. You have like Red Mountain, you have Widowmaker, you have Vicious Serpent. I think Widow is the best functional one, because if you look at the way this setup goes, where you go in, you can hit something, proc a poison, that'll be a Widow proc, immediately switch over, light attack, ransack, you know, do your thing, Tremor Scale, Viper proc, another poison procs, another Widowmaker proc. It's going to be kind of sick. And this is where I think they need to reel in these sets that just proc like this. Honestly, talked about it last patch and reported it. Asked what the deal was. Didn't really, you don't get much answer. So I think it's on the community to fix this on their own. That's generally how we get bounce changes. So get out there and enjoy the hell out of this build and beat up your fellow enemies with it. And if you watch these builds and they don't, you're going to have a leg up on doing that. And bringing bounce to Cyrodiil is what you're going to do in the most terrible way possible. So this is how you're going to make this poison, by the way, for people that always ask, what are the ingredients? Boom! There it is. There's a couple ways to make this poison. This is one. Butterfly wing, scrib jelly, mountain flower. You can slide something else in for mountain flower, though. Like there's like a mushroom or something you can put in there. There's a couple options you have. So, yeah. FENGRUSH, can this be used as a group build? Good question. Yes, this can be used as a group build, but this build is actually made to be more of a 1vx build. Thank you for asking. That's actually a good point. The group builds I wanted to do would probably, like the Widow one, for example. Let me show you how Widow would be different. Widow, you're not going to have heavy. You're not going to have the Black Rose sustain, which isn't huge, but it's relevant. The things that you really miss going from Black Rose to some kind of medium set, it's not just Black Rose being really good. It's any heavy. Heavy in and of itself is good. It gives you good armor, it gives you extra health, and it gives you extra received healing, which is why I run as many heals as possible. That's why I want to run Rally, Crit Surge, Vigor, Health Drain potions, anything I can to amp my received healing, because it's so high, and you become this guy that can chill out in the fight. With medium, you want to do a more hit and run evasive, you have to avoid certain things or you die type build. I will make those builds. I enjoy medium more. I just feel with the design of the game, it's going to be even harder to run medium this patch. I will still do it. You'll have to take care of yourself, but it's no different than last patch. I had the most fun playing a medium build, but I was just able to be killed so easily by things like Nightblades that can just instantly kill you. And they're going to be doing it even worse this patch. This build can really apply to anything. As it is right now, it can easily go into a Stam DK. You can take this thing, carbon copy it over, and play Stam DK with it. Stam Templar and Stam Nightblade, sure, it works on them, but I honestly feel you can build them a little differently to be a bit more effective in other means. You could throw the build on them and do it, but they can still run Viper. They can still... I think they can do other things too, though. I think they can just straight up burst in other ways. I'd say this is deadly effective and crazy sensible on Stam Sorc, the Black Rose. Black Rose is good on anyone, don't get me wrong, but I find it to be really, really effective on Stam Sorc, who doesn't need it as much, but Stam DK, it's really good. Like that, they actually can use any and all mana they get. Like again, like I said, sometimes you find yourself with your mana bar full on a Stam Sorc because you're just running wild on offense and you don't need to Dark Deal that much. And then you Dark Deal a couple times and you come back to it like 30 seconds later and your Magicka bar's full. Stam DK, you're usually spitting out that mana more quickly, putting up major mending and whatnot. But yeah, this build could slide it right onto a DK. But you know, I'll work on that stuff later. Trying to get the Stam Sorc builds. I'll have a couple more coming. I'm going to test the same build with Widow on the 5 body. That way I can still control the Tremor Viper combo on the sorting board, but I can proc Widow off the 2-hander bar. After that, I will have a general damage build, which I've already put together. I just need to upgrade it a bit, which is kind of a 5-5-1 open world medium build. Hit and run, heavy hammer build. It will be very strong. So, this is going to be on my YouTube channel? Yes, it will be. So, yeah, I'm going to upload this. Have fun with this build. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And thanks for tuning in to the latest and greatest meta build. And that'll be out there in Cyrodiil. Have fun with it.